On this last day of the November 96 retreat, we will read, as we usually do, from all kinds of different authors, spiritual teachers and poets. I don't change these selections very much, partly because they're very good. I get a lot of feedback from people who like them, feel they're helpful, or just beautiful. Also, I don't have much time or take much time to find new selections. The poetry changes a little bit here and there. Particularly Ryokan, One Robe, One Bowl, who fortunately has spring, summer, fall, and winter poems. Makes it easy. Although, is this fall? Is this winter? Right now I picked the winter poems. First selection is from the Zen teaching of Wang Po, a Chinese Zen teacher who lived 1,000 years ago in China. His sayings, talks, and dialogues, which we will not read today, were recorded by his disciple, who was the governor of the province. He was also a Buddhist scholar. He had been instrumental in Wang Po coming and teaching and having a monastery to work in. The selections are excerpts, and within the excerpts, certain words or phrases are being skipped because this is not a presentation of Wang Po. Anybody can read this book by themselves. But it is picked so it fits into what we have been talking about, and yet brings some new words into it. The Master said to me, all the Buddhas and all sentient beings are nothing but the one mind beside which nothing exists. This mind, which is without beginning, is unborn and indestructible. It does not belong to the categories of things which exist or do not exist, nor can it be thought of in terms of young or old. It is neither long nor short, big nor small, for it transcends all limits, measures, names, traces, and comparisons. It is that which you see before you. Begin to reason about it, and you at once fall into error. It is like the boundless void which cannot be fathomed or measured. The one mind alone is the Buddha, and there is no distinction between the Buddha and sentient beings, but that sentient beings are attached to forms and so seek externally for Buddhahood. By their very seeking, they lose it. For that is using the Buddha to seek for the Buddha, is using mind to grasp mind. Even though they do their utmost for a full eon, they will not be able to attain to it. They do not know that if they put a stop to conceptual thought and forget their anxiety, the Buddha will appear before them. For this mind is the Buddha, and Buddha is all living beings. It is not the less for being manifested in ordinary beings, nor is it greater for being manifested in the Buddhas. Our original nature is, in highest truth, devoid of any atom of objectivity. It is void, omnipresent, silent, pure. It is glorious and mysterious, peaceful joy. And that is all. Enter deeply into it by awaking to it yourself. That which is before you is it, in all its fullness utterly complete. There is naught beside. Even if you go through all the stages of progress toward Buddhahood, one by one, when at last in a single flash you attain to realization, you will only be realizing the nature that has been with you all the time. And by the foregoing steps or stages, you will have added to it nothing at all. You will come to look upon those eons of work and achievement as no better than unreal actions performed in a dream. Full understanding can come to you only through an inexpressible mystery. The approach to it is called the gateway of the stillness beyond all activity. If you wish to understand, know that a sudden comprehension comes when the mind is purged of all the clutter of conceptual and discriminatory thought activity. Those who seek the truth by means of intellect and learning only get further and further away from it. Not till your thoughts cease all their branching here and there, not till you abandon all thoughts of seeking for something, will you be on the right road. And that road goes nowhere. Though others may talk of the way of the Buddhas as something to be reached by various pious practices and scripture study, you must have nothing to do with such ideas. A perception, sudden as blinking, that subject and object are one, or as we say, there's no division, no separation, will lead to a deeply mysterious, wordless understanding. And by this understanding, you awake to the truth. Your true nature is something never lost to you even in moments of delusion, nor is it gained at the moment of enlightenment. It depends on nothing and is attached to nothing. It is all-pervading, spotless beauty. It is the self-existent and uncreated absolute. Absolute meaning literally dependent on nothing. Ah, it is a jewel beyond all price. This is the very last selection. The questioner asking, but how can we prevent ourselves from falling into the error? Wangpo, by realizing that though you eat the whole day through, no single grain has passed your lips, and that a day's journey has not taken you a single step forward. Also by uniformly abstaining from such notions as self and other. Do not permit the events of your daily lives to bind you, but never withdraw yourselves from them. Avoid the error of thinking in terms of past, present, and future. The past has gone, the present is a fleeting moment, the future is not yet come. When you practice meditation, sit in the proper position that is proper for each one, may be different for different people. Stay perfectly tranquil. That's Wangpo's advice. Who can stay perfectly tranquil? And do not permit the least movement of your minds to disturb you. And what if a disturbance happens? Then you see it. Let it be, let it be. This alone is what is called liberation. The second chapter from I Am That by Nisargadatta, a Hindu saint, sage saint, teacher who died in the 80s, was himself in the early 80s, sort of a contemporary, time-wise, with Krishnamurti. Questioner. This book was translated by Maurice Friedman. Questioner. Maharaj, you are sitting in front of me, and I am here at your feet. What is the basic difference between us? Nisargadatta, there is no basic difference. Questioner. Still, there must be some real difference. I come to you, you do not come to me. Nisargadatta. Because you imagine differences, you go here and there in search of superior people. Questioner. You too are a superior person. You claim to know the real while I do not. Nisargadatta. Did I ever tell you that you do not know and therefore you are inferior? Let those who invented such distinctions prove them. I do not claim to know what you do not. In fact, I know much less than you do. Questioner. Your words are wise, your behavior noble, and your grace all-powerful. Nisargadatta. I know nothing about it all and see no difference between you and me. My life is a succession of events just like yours. Only I am detached and see the passing show as a passing show, while you stick to things and move along with them. Questioner. What made you so dispassionate? Nisargadatta. Nothing in particular. It so happened that I trusted my guru. He told me I am nothing but myself, and I believed him. Self in the Hindu religion means the whole. The whole. Not means the ego. He told me I am nothing but myself, and I believed him. Trusting him, I behaved accordingly and ceased caring for what was not me nor mine. Questioner. Why were you so lucky to trust your teacher fully, while our trust is nominal and verbal? Nisargadatta. Who can say? It happened so. Things happen without cause and reason, and after all, what does it matter who is who? Your high opinion of me is your opinion only. Any moment you may change it. Why attach importance to opinions, even your own? Questioner. Still, you are different. Your mind seems to be always quiet and happy, and miracles happen around you. Nisargadatta. I know nothing about miracles, and I wonder whether nature admits exceptions to her laws, unless we agree that everything is a miracle. As to my mind, there is no such thing. There is consciousness in which everything happens. It is quite obvious and within the experience of everybody. You just do not look carefully enough. Look well and see what I see. Questioner. What do you see? Nisargadatta. I see what you too could see here and now, but for the wrong focus of your attention. You give no attention to yourself. Your mind is all with things and people and ideas, never with yourself. Bring yourself into focus. Become aware of your own existence. See how you function. Watch the motives and the results of your actions. Study the prison you have built around yourself by inadvertence. By knowing what you are not, you come to know yourself. One thing is certain, the real is not imaginary. It is not a product of the mind. Once you are convinced that you cannot truthfully say about yourself anything except I am, and that nothing that can be pointed at can be yourself, you are no longer intent on verbalizing what you are. All you need is to get rid of the tendency to define yourself. All definitions apply to your body only and to its expressions. Once this obsession with the body goes, you will revert to your natural state spontaneously and effortlessly. The only difference between us is that I am aware of my natural state while you are bemused. Just like gold made into ornaments has no advantage over gold dust, except when the mind makes it so, so we are one in being. We differ only in appearance. We discover this by being earnest, by searching, inquiring, questioning daily and hourly, by giving one's life to this discovery. Here's a passage from The Meditative Mind, a selection of passages for the study of the teachings of Krishnamurti. Comes out of the Krishnamurti Foundation of America in Ojai. This one is from The Flame of Attention. It is immensely important to know and to understand the depth and beauty of meditation. Man has always been asking from timeless time whether there is something beyond all thought, beyond all romantic inventions, beyond all time. He has always been asking, is there something beyond all this suffering, beyond all this chaos, beyond wars, beyond the battle between human beings? Is there something that is immovable, sacred, utterly pure, untouched by any thought, by any experience? This has been the inquiry of serious people from the ancient of days. To find that out, to come upon it, meditation is necessary. Not the repetitive meditation, that is utterly meaningless. There is a creative energy which is truly religious when the mind is free from all conflict, from all the travail of thought. To come upon that which has no beginning, no end, that is the real depth of meditation and the beauty of it. There is complete security in compassionate intelligence, total security. But we want security in ideas, in beliefs, in things, in concepts, in ideals, in people we can add. We hold on to them. They are our security, however false, however irrational. Where there is compassion with its supreme intelligence, there is security if one is seeking security. Actually, where there is compassion, where there is that intelligence, there is no question of security. So there is an origin, an original ground from which all things arise. And that original ground is not the word. The word is never the thing. And meditation is to come upon that ground which is the origin of all things and which is free from all time. Here two very short selections from the early Krishnamurti. This is from a compilation, excerpts from Krishnamurti's talks and writings that came out of the foundation in India. From the Theosophical Star Bulletin 1932. The individual problem is the world problem. If the individual has found happiness, has created order within himself, then he will create order in the world around him. And in helping others to solve their own individual problems, he will help to solve the world problem. You think that in seeking liberation of the self, there is the suggestion of egotism. You think that to be eternally happy is a selfish realization. You think that to be free from all sorrow and strife is a desertion of the world. This is a misconception. Liberation is the very antithesis to the sense of the ego, of I-ness. It is the ultimate realization for all people. And in Ojai 1940, I personally feel that the world is myself, that what I do creates either peace or sorrow in the world that is myself, and that as long as I do not understand myself, I cannot bring peace to the world. So my immediate concern is myself, not selfishly, not merely to alter myself in order to gain greater happiness, greater sensations, greater successes. For as long as I do not understand myself, I must live in pain and sorrow and cannot discover an enduring peace. A selection from Being and Becoming by Vimala Thakur. She's an Indian teacher who lives in India. She doesn't travel anymore. This book gives some of the dialogues which took place at Dalhousie in India during the summer of '89. We are talking about an alternative way of living, which is a meditative way of living. Acquire knowledge, let it flow through you, let it be utilized in its relevant field, without thought creating the knower, me who knows. If we look at the roots of all human misery, we will find that misery is built upon our stupefaction. We do not know how to relate to the social structures and use them without identification, without creating a sense of authority out of them. Structures are not sacred. It is only life that is sacred. Patterns have no sacredness, whether you create them in the name of religion, spirituality, or politics. It is the pattern-free, structure-free, virgin dynamism of life that is sacred, that is divine. Wherever you have touched it with thought, you have manipulated it, you have structured it. It has a utility, but not sanctity. It has a utility, but no authority. Knowledge itself has no power to bind you. It is the creation of the knower that is the obstacle. You have a beautiful, sensitive body, and the sensitivity gets in touch with its respective objects outside, and they bring sensations. Sensations are converted back to electric impulses, and the brain interprets them. It is a marvelous process of what you call experiencing. Contact with the outside world through the senses, which are very delicate, very tender. It is quite hard and arduous work to keep your sensual system pure, healthy, supple, and elastic. Let the experiences flow through the sensual system. Nothing wrong in a sensual, sexual experience, but you create an experiencer, and you get stuck in the experience, its likes and dislikes, its value structures, its preferences. If the sensual contact with objects is allowed to flow through you without creating an experiencer, then the limited human-made world cannot corrupt you. As the oneness of life manifesting itself into manyness does not get corrupted, does not lose its vitality, does not get mutilated. In the same way you acquire knowledge, you appear as an individual playing the role of the father, the mother, brother, child. You are one appearing as many. Has no identification with the fatherness, the sonness, the daughterness, the sisterness, and you don't tie so many knots inside you, but play the roles sanely, completely, with the magnificence of an inner equipoise. The word meditation has been identified with psychophysical exercises, concentrations, methods, techniques, kundalini, shakti paths. The word has been misused in such a callous way. No authority and no effort. Freedom from authority and freedom from the struggle of efforts. Once you know that these man-made enclosures are only to be lived in, then the sense of comparing yourself with others, like he has a palace and I have a hut, he has millions and I only have hundreds, the sense of comparison and the ambition for competition disappears. Your economic life becomes simple. No vanity, no pride about your scholarship, erudition, and your social life becomes simple. You do not move around with a begging bowl for sympathy, for acceptance, for prestige, for acknowledgement, and so forth. Can you see with me that effortlessness is the content of silence? Silence is not only sitting still, it is a way of living. Meditation has no repetition at all. It is moment to moment. In the moment of relating you are living. In the moment of aloneness, you're dying. It is living and dying, like inhaling and exhaling. To be alone is to die to the sense of being somebody or being something. Is not that the content of death and dying? To be alone is to die to the sense of being somebody. Sinner, saint, holy, knowledgeable, respected, rich. To be alone is to die to being something according to the definition of society, according to the value structure of religions. Physically isolating yourself may not lead you to the aloneness. It may not. That is what we are afraid of, dying to the sense of being somebody, dying to the images that you have built up about yourself is being alone. The way we are tackling the theme may be unusual, unheard of to many. It is a non-conventional, a non-traditional approach. But I am really grateful that life brings you and me together. Some poems from One Robe, One Bowl, Zen Poetry of Ryokan, translated by John Stevens. Ryokan was a hermit. He lived in the mountains in a hut, and a poet. He was born in 1758. Japanese. Fresh morning snow in front of the shrine. The trees. Are they white with peach blossoms or white with snow? The children and I joyfully throw snowballs. Another year lingers to an end. Heaven sends a bitter frost. Fallen leaves cover the mountains, and there are no travelers to cast shadows on the path. Endless night. Dried leaves burn slowly in the hearth. Occasionally, the sound of freezing rain. Dizzy, I try to recall the past. Nothing here but dreams. An evening dream. Everything must have been an illusion. I cannot explain clearly even one part of what I saw. Yet in the dream it seemed as if the truth were right in front of my eyes. This morning, awake, is it not the same dream? Wind and snow, then snow and rain. Tonight awakened by the cry of a wild goose in the dark. Endless winter sky. Lying in my freezing hut, unable to sleep. Only the quiet roar of water pouring over the cliff. I lie down near the hearth and stretch out my feet to the fire. But still the cold pierces my belly. No begging in the town again today. The snow falls and falls. Late at night, the snow is piling higher and higher, muffling the sound of the waterfall. The freezing morning rain has let up. What should I do? Fetch water? Chop firewood? Gather winter greens? Winter will soon be over. Please, please come visit my grass hut. My heart beats faster and faster, I cannot sleep. Tomorrow will be the first day of spring. Lying on my grass pillow, dreaming about this dream world again. Lonely, fitful sleep. As I watch the children happily playing, without realizing it, my eyes fill with tears. Thinking about the people in this floating world far into the night, my sleeve is wet with tears. A thief has stolen my mat and cushion. Why did he break into my hermitage? The door is never locked. The night is ending, and I sit alone by the window. A sparse rain falls gently against the bamboo grove. The thief left it behind. The moon at the window. A poem by Wendell Berry, The Peace of Wild Things. When despair for the world grows in me and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake nests in his beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water. And I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. A few poems by Mary Oliver, a contemporary poet, American poet. This one poem is from White Pine. It's called Work. How beautiful this morning was Pasture Pond. It had lain in the dark all night, catching the rain on its broad back. All day I work with the linen of words and the pins of punctuation. All day I hang out over a desk, grinding my teeth, staring. Then I sleep. When I come out of the house, even before the sun is up, and walk back, then I come out of the house, even before the sun is up, and walk back through the pine woods to Pasture Pond. This one is from the House of Light, the Kingfisher. Kingfisher is a bird. The kingfisher rises out of the black wave like a blue flower. In his beak he carries a silver leaf. I think this is the prettiest world, so long as you don't mind a little dying. How could there be a day in your whole life that doesn't have its splash of happiness? There are more fish than there are leaves on 1,000 trees. And anyway, the kingfisher wasn't born to think about it or anything else. When the wave snaps shut over his blue head, the water remains water. Hunger is the only story he has ever heard in his life that he could believe. I don't say he's right, neither do I say he's wrong. Religiously he swallows the silver leaf with its broken red river, and with a rough and easy cry I couldn't rouse out of my thoughtful body if my life depended on it, he swings back over the bright sea to do the same thing, to do it as I long to do something, anything, perfectly. And a few from new and selected poems by Mary Oliver. Lonely white fields. Every night the owl with his wild monkey face calls through the black branches, and the mice freeze and the rabbits shiver in the snowy fields. And then there's the long, deep trough of silence when he stops singing and steps into the air. I don't know what death's ultimate purpose is, but I think this. Whoever dreams of holding his life in his fist year after year into the hundreds of years has never considered the owl. How he comes exhausted through the snow, through the icy trees, past snags and vines, wheeling out of barns and church steeples, turning this way and that way through the mesh of every obstacle, undeterred by anything, filling himself time and time again with a red and digestible joy, sickled up from the lonely white fields. And how at daybreak, as though everything had been done that must be done, the fields swell with a rosy light, the owl fades back into the branches, the snow goes on falling, flake after perfect flake. Singapore. In Singapore, in the airport, a darkness was ripped from my eyes. In the women's restroom, one compartment stood open. A woman knelt there washing something in the white bowl. Disgust argued in my stomach, and I felt in my pocket for my ticket. A poem should always have birds in it. Kingfishers, say, with their bold eyes and gaudy wings. Rivers are pleasant, and of course, trees. A waterfall. Or if that's not possible, a fountain rising and falling. A person wants to stand in a happy place in a poem. When the woman turned, I could not answer her face. Her beauty and her embarrassment struggled together, and neither could win. She smiled, and I smiled. What kind of nonsense is this? Everybody needs a job. Yes, a person wants to stand in a happy place in a poem. But first we must watch her as she stares down at her labor, which is dull enough. She's washing the tops of the airport ashtrays, as big as hubcaps, with a blue rag. Her small hands turn the metal, scrubbing and rinsing. She does not work slowly nor quickly, but like a river. Her dark hair is like the wing of a bird. I don't doubt for a moment that she loves her life. And I want her to rise up from the crust and the slop and fly down to the river. This probably won't happen, but maybe it will. If the world were only pain and logic, who would want it? Of course it isn't. Neither do I mean anything miraculous, but only the light that can shine out of a life. I mean the way she unfolded and refolded the blue cloth, the way her smile was only for my sake. I mean the way this poem is filled with trees and birds. And the last one is the sun. Have you ever seen anything in your life more wonderful than the way the sun, every evening, relaxed and easy, floats toward the horizon and into the clouds on the hills, or the rumpled sea, and is gone? And how it slides again out of the blackness every morning on the other side of the world, like a red flower streaming upward on its heavenly oils, say, on a morning in early summer, at its perfect imperial distance. And have you ever felt for anything such wild love? Do you think there's anywhere in any language a word billowing enough for the pleasure that fills you as the sun reaches out, as it warms you, as you stand there, empty-handed? Or have you too turned from this world? Or have you too gone crazy for power, for things? We will end here for today.